Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a Thursday video, an 8-game slate in the NBA. And today also happens to be, and let me mute this sound, today also happens to be MLB opening day. I already have a video out for that. I'm working the double shift. We got the NBA, we got the MLB. I'm going to do it as long as I possibly can as a one-man show. Maybe get some help here and there. But I'm excited. The MLB is back. If you're interested, if you're somebody that likes the MLB, I already have my video out. Went up at 2:30 in the morning. It's now 9 in the morning, and I'm recording the NBA one. It's all in the power of the coffee. It's all in the power of the mind. Let's just get this thing done. This is your first time here. My name is Sal, so welcome to the channel. I cover daily fantasy sports for NFL, NBA, which you're watching right now, and like I just mentioned, the MLB. My goal here, as much value as possible to give to you guys and girls. That gets your attention. You give me your attention. I get some views. I get some traction, maybe a job out of this, maybe some promotions. We all win, right? So that's just where I'm at right now. I'm excited the MLB is here, just more sports to play. A totally different sport in its own right, but I'm definitely excited about it. So, with that all being said, I will quickly just jump into this and say, if you're new here, you're used to this, get into the Discord. There's a link down below. It's just a place to come chat. MLB is going to be blowing up now today. People talking about stacks already. I love it. That's how you should be approaching MLB DFS, playing stacks in tournaments. And if you don't know what that means, just go watch that video. But right now we're at the NBA. So there's an NBA chat, things like that. And on Patreon, you can have my projections. They're over there on Patreon for the NBA, for Draftkings and FanDuel. I have a target offense sheet for the MLB, as well as projections that will be published later tonight. So I might not make this first game slate. So if you end up purchasing projections for MLB today, I already have that target offense sheet for MLB. That's fine. You can get that. But if you do want to purchase projections as well for the MLB, it's not as much of a projectable sport, but it's still helpful, I believe. You can go or you could do so. I would say do it later today because I just have doctor's appointments, been doing double videos for sports. So I'll probably get those finalized later today. They're like 90% done. But without further ado, let's hop into it. A like goes a long way. If you could hit me with a like, and if at any point you like this video, if you like it, consider subscribing. Hit the notification bell as well if you're already a subscriber. It lets you know when I post these videos. Helps out a ton. So, I don't have my glasses or contacts. The glasses kind of reflect off the thing and I can't see, so I'm half blind, but the things are pretty big today. So, yeah, let's just start this off. I believe it's already factored by team. We'll just sort it by team. And I'll probably go through this pretty quickly, quicker than usual, just because we have a lot to cover in the MLBs here, and I'm trying to get those done as well. Have some work calls, whatever it might be. So, Kawhi Leonard's ruled out today. This is very huge, and this is actually going to have to get factored into my early interests. I just went through and quickly made a list of early interests and didn't have much Toronto on there because I totally forgot Kawhi Leonard was out as I was doing all the baseball stuff. So, I mean, it's fine. We all know what to do when Kawhi is out. He is one of the 3 or 4 most rested players with LeBron right now, Anthony Davis, and Kyrie. So Kawhi's out, you know what it affects. It's going to give a big bump to Kyle Lowry, whose minutes, though, I'm kind of concerned about. He came back from the injury, and I don't think he's played in 1 or 2 games anywhere near his 34 to 35 minutes that we're used to him playing. And we can quickly check on that just so I don't think I'm just lying here to everybody. But I don't recall him seeing. Yeah, so in his 2 games back, he's played 28 minutes and 21 minutes. Nowhere near. The 21 minutes was in a close game, too. So nowhere near. He didn't close those games. So nowhere near where we're used to getting from Kawhi Leonard. Or from Kyle Lowry. So a little concerning there. Pascal Siakam, a huge spike. Serge Ibaka's only going to see 23 to 25 minutes, most likely, if he comes off the bench. He should also see a bump. Really, the whole team. I also like Fred VanVleet a little bit more. Already liked him. Harry Giles is questionable today. Look, if he's out, this total in this game, it's around 238, 239 at some books. The pace is incredible. Another 109 pace game. Anytime we see over 106, really in the 107, 108 range, we get excited because it's going to be a track meet. This one's in the 109. You could expect that out of these 2 teams, Sacramento and New Orleans, 2 of the 5 fastest paced teams in the entire league. Harry Giles is out. Gives a bump to Bielitsa. Gives a bump to Bagley. And maybe a little bit of Barnes at the 4. Philadelphia, it's Ennis. James Ennis might miss again. He's questionable. Mike Scott is now questionable, which is somewhat big because he was playing mid-20s minutes, so maybe you get a little bit of a bump out of Tobias Harris minutes, and then some guys' secondary options. Ben Simmons is probable with an illness. He was late scratched the last time out. or actually probably on Sunday, 2 games ago, I believe that was now. But against Brooklyn, nice matchup for him if he goes. Noah Vonleh, they said he's going to be reevaluated in a week. I tweeted, I don't know why this guy is even playing. There's only like 2 weeks left in the season. Just shut him down. Why are you reevaluating him in a week, right? You're going to shut him down anyways. Dennis Smith Jr. is now questionable after missing, I think, like 6 games with his back injury. I currently have him out in the projections, but He is questionable. It will affect Emmanuel Mudiay a ton. That would be the biggest beneficiary, as well as Kadeem Allen. They already have Alonzo Trier out for this game and Frank Ntilikina, so their guard depth is thin if Dennis Smith will miss again. Kevin Knox is questionable today, so just watch that. Some depth can get thrown around there. I already said Trier and Ntilikina are out. Anthony Davis is probable. Probably gets his 21 minutes. If you're lucky, his 22 minutes today. I probably don't touch him, but at 6,900, you can consider starting to play him again because he's a guy who can go for 40-plus points if he just plays those 21 to 22 minutes, and that's obviously good at 6,900. Elfrid Payton, 7,700. Look, it's concerning. The last time out, he didn't close the game. It was a blowout, though. They said that they're going to not take it, or they're going to be a little bit more cautious with their players moving forward. This is a phenomenal spot, one as good as it gets. He just came off of an Atlanta game, and now he's going up against Sacramento, just as fast in pace, a little better, or a lot better defensively, especially as of late. Top 10 team defensively. He doesn't have his running mate, Frank Jackson, as you'll see next, has a concussion, and he's out, so Ian Clark will be getting the start most likely at the 2. I have him in for 28 minutes right now. That could easily get bumped to 30 to 32, and just take all of Frank Jackson's minutes. He's probably the best value play on the day because he's in this game environment and he's super cheap. Peyton, though, at 7,700, I'm fine paying for that. I just want to make sure I'm getting those minutes. The fact that he's not probable, another day of rest, I feel a little bit better about it. Tony Snell's out again. We saw Pat Connaughton go for 30-plus minutes, 31 minutes, and had his best game of the year because he got those extra minutes. Actually, he is a hustle guy. I was going to say he's a pure, relies on scoring only, but he does go and get his rebounds, creates his own shots by driving as well occasionally. So Pat Connaughton, the biggest bump there. Justice Winslow is questionable. He's missed a lot of games. So is Josh Richardson now questionable. That's a lot of minutes, so keep up with that. Richardson's been playing 36 to 37 minutes a game. Winslow, we know, has been missing, and the beneficiaries have been lately Dion Waiters and Dwayne Wade with Goran Dragic to an extent. Rodney McGruger remains out for Miami. Nothing major there. For the Clippers, Pat Bev you don't usually see him as questionable. He's playing around 32 minutes a game. If he's out, that's going to give a bump to a lot of guys, probably namingly Lou Williams, and we have Landry Shamet, who is now questionable. Look, if both of these guys out, Lou Williams is by far the biggest beneficiary. The problem is his price got recorrected from 6,900 to 7,500, not 69 to 72, 7,500. So he's extremely expensive now. If these two guys are out, though, it makes a lot of sense to me to try and look there. Probable Eric Gordon today, I believe, just because of rest. I don't know if there's an actual injury. They're trying to rest him a lot more before the playoffs. Kenneth Faried is out once again. This is going to impact Daniel House Jr., who should see elevated minutes. Nene's minutes will go from, instead of being 10 and pointless, to 15 and pointless, but Daniel House should see closer to 30. I believe I have him at 28 today. Malik Beasley is questionable. If he's out, Gary Harris will get a bump closer to 30 minutes today instead of around 28 or so where he's been playing, as well as all the rest of the guards should see bumps, Monty Morris especially. For Cleveland, Matthew Dellavedova remains out in the concussion. I think they should just shut him down at this point. Sounds like a terrible concussion. As you guys and girls may know, I went through a 9-month to a year concussion. Worst time of my life. I hope he's doing well. He's been in this protocol for, I think, at least a month to 2 now. Allen Crabbe remains out once again, so you'll get pretty much the Brooklyn dust, which Brooklyn has to win. I believe they're only in the playoffs by a game and a half. They're playing Philly, and they're 8-point underdogs, so they have to win. It's very unlikely that they do win. At least Vegas is indicating that. So you're going to get a lot of elevated minutes out of these guys, like I already mentioned. Against Ben Simmons, D'Angelo Russell is going to be going up against him. His price is 8,700 now, but I think you get, instead of 32 minutes out of Russell, closer to 35. I think I have him at 34 right now. So that just reminded me of that. So that's the injury news. There's a lot to watch. We already got the news on Kawhi, so that's good. Is Dennis Smith Jr. going to start today? That'll shake up Emmanuel Mudiay and some potential value. We already know Frank Jackson's out, so Ian Clark's going to get a huge bump. So I'm just kind of listing off the main things. If Pat Bev and Shamet are out, I will look at Lou Will at 7,500 because he's going to be bound to play 32 minutes in this game. Lou Will playing 32 minutes, he can get triple-doubles for 40-point triple-doubles in 26 minutes. It's ridiculous. I heard some announcers last night, and maybe I'm wrong, comparing Jamal Crawford and Lou Williams, meaning who is like the best sixth man of all time. And it's definitely close. Crawford's like top 5 in the 3-point list. But I personally, in both of their primes, would want Lou Will on my team. The man can go 40-point triple-doubles in 26 minutes. If you give that guy 32 minutes off the bench, his triple-double upside every single night is incredible. His 30-point upside every single night is, 1 in 3. It's ridiculous what that guy can do. But that's neither here or there. Let's move on to the target offense. Before we move on to the target offense, hit me with a thumbs up. Comment down below right now. Are you somebody who plays MLB DFS? I want to know if you are. And if you are playing MLB DFS, have you watched my other video yet? So that's just a question today. Are you somebody who plays MLB DFS? And have you watched the other video yet? I want to know what people think of that. That video is just kind of like a primer, right? It's opening day. I want to talk about what I'm going to be talking about for the most part in the MLB. Moving forward, I will do individual game stacks and things like that. Just kind of have to get everything situated because already was spending about like 3 hours a day on NBA research, plus projections, plus making these videos, if not more. And now the MLB is here. So as you can imagine, with grad school and finals coming up and final projects starting on Tuesday, it's becoming a lot. So just let me know if that was a good format. The videos might become a little more concise and shorter as time moves on. Target offense sheet for today. Let's blow this down a little bit. I already kind of buried the lead on this one, but right here, 109, second to last, New Orleans and Sacramento. 109.10 pace. If you're new here, pace just indicates that a game is going to have more possessions. Anything over 102.5 means it's above league average for the game. I'm projecting it just by taking the league average into account, dividing it, multiplying it by each team's difference, and then adding it together, if that made sense. Should be a competitive game, 2.5 point spread, 238.5 over under. Anytime that we have these games approaching 240, they are the fantasy jackpot. So in terms of, and both of these teams don't play the greatest, well, New Orleans doesn't play great defense. Sacramento's improving at defense over the last month, but overall in the season hasn't been great. So let's look at it though. The New Orleans side of the ball, like I said, Elfrid Payton, I love him today. He has the best individual matchup, a virtual tie pretty much, with Derek White going up against Colin Sexton, worst defender in the league. Virtual tie for the best individual matchup on this slate at the point guard position. Then you'll go over to shooting guard. Also a very nice matchup, a top five matchup on the slate. And that's where Ian Clark's going to be at value today. In terms of going against the bigs on Sacramento still below average in rebounding. As you can see, defensive rebounding rate divided by the league average. Anything below ones means that they are below average, and they're below average by a pretty good amount. Pretty good amount meaning that they are the lowest, I believe. Yes, they are the worst rebounding team on this entire slate, Sacramento, that is, at least on the year. So you can target them there as well. Obviously, New Orleans, we know that you could target with the bigs. So Willie Cauley-Stein finally saw 30 minutes again after his minutes were getting all messed up. If Giles is out, I think those minutes stay up there. He becomes interesting. Marvin Bagley's price went from $7,300 to $7,000. I'll take that discount all day. He's one of my favorite plays on the slate right now if he's going to get 32 minutes, as I project him for in this game. Buddy Hield, I think's price is now too cheap at $7,100 if he's going to continue to play big minutes. It seems like they're rearing back him and Fox's minutes in specific games or just here and there, so that's a little bit worrying. But if we're going to take into account or not take that too much into account because it hasn't been the biggest of samples, then I do like Buddy Hield. Fox's price, I believe, is $7,600. I think I can go elsewhere, especially when a guy like Chris Paul is only $7K and a guy like Kyle Lowry, who even if he's not getting his full run, which is definitely concerning, is below $7K, things to look at. So that game's where I'm looking by far. Both of these teams are the two top, I think they're both top four, maybe even top three in pace. It's going to be an absolute track meet. If you're watching MLB and you want to watch any basketball game tonight, look, there's some good ones. Philly and Brooklyn has a lot of playoff implications. It might not be close, though. I'm definitely very interested. The Clippers in Houston, or Houston plays Denver, so never mind. But Houston and Denver, another game that is a playoff potential matchup. But I do like New Orleans in Sacramento in terms of just a fun game to watch with nothing on the line. I don't care if it's good or not. I want turnovers. I want fast break points. I just want a ton of points, right, from a fantasy perspective. I'm not going to cover all the games because there's 8 of them. We could hit on some other high-paced games. Milwaukee and the Clippers, very high-paced game here. It's a pace-up spot for the Clippers by about 3 possessions in this game. 106.5 projected pace. That's 4 more possessions per team than the league average. A 232 over-under. So this is the second best game environment based on the Vegas, based on the pace on the slate. Milwaukee is an 8.5 point favorite. They have virtually the highest, or tied for, with Sacramento, 120.25 team total, something that's very attractive. Sacramento's was 105 or 120.5, so very attractive in terms of targeting Milwaukee. I think Pat Connaughton makes a lot of sense if he's going to remain still cheap, and we already know that Tony Snell is out. Obviously, I have interest in Giannis every single time out, but I think there's better options on this slate, namely who we haven't touched on yet in this Brooklyn-Philly game in Joel Embiid. You attack Brooklyn. Yusuf Nurkic, although he broke his foot, just went off for 70 points. I think he had over 50 in regulation. It's just been a running flow chart for 2 to 3 years now. Attack Brooklyn. Now you're going to get Joel Embiid playing 35 minutes against Brooklyn in a game that actually matters, and a game that has a decent pace at 104.8 and a decent total at 226.5. Yeah, Joel Embiid is one of the best plays on the entire slate, in my opinion, at 10-4. And there's a lot of other centers who are cheap as well. So in terms of paying up for Giannis, look, you're probably going to be different because it's going to be tough to get there. at least in my opinion, because you're passing up guys who have the exact same upside both in ceiling and floor to that extent. To go there. Vucevic is only $8,500 now. Very tough matchup. A very disgusting game in terms of pace being below 98, almost 5 below the league average. The total is only 216.5. The matchup against Detroit is tough, but he's $8,500 in a game where they have to win it, in a game that has the biggest playoff implications maybe on this entire, maybe until the year ends, at least right now. Right now, Orlando is the 9 seed. I believe Detroit is like the 6 or the 7 seed in the East. And Orlando's only like a game and a half or a game out of a playoff spot. So they could literally jump right now like a game behind Detroit. That's how close the East is. So that means a lot. I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but there's just important things to point out. The game in general looks like it's going to stink, pace and all that. But these guys are going to get their minutes on both sides of the ball. Andre Drummond, still cheap. He's going to still get his 35 minutes. Vooch will probably push closer from 33 to 34 to 35 in a game like this. So not something where I'm looking to stack a ton of players, but if I want to pick one player late in the season and feel confident about his minutes, because as you guys and girls might know right now, these minutes are all over the place. Christian Wood playing 32 minutes and dropping a 50 burger is not something you would ever see randomly after he played 8 the middle of the season. Coaches are starting not to care. So games where that there's actually things on the line and you know the starters are going to get their run and they will remain good rotations are the games that you want to target. I believe a lot of these games are like that. Although the game that is the highest pace and the most attractive in New Orleans and Sacramento isn't like that. We could see Elfrid Payton going for 25 minutes, and I wouldn't be surprised today. We could see Cheick Diallo getting the run instead of Christian Wood, and I wouldn't be shocked by any means. We could see Buddy Hield and De'Aaron Fox getting pushed back from 33 to 34 to 35 minutes to 30 minutes, and I wouldn't be surprised. So it's very, very scary. So any ways that you can get certainty in your lineups is great. Toronto and New York is a spot where I could potentially see more players resting. For the Toronto side, we already have Kawhi out. We already know that Kyle Lowry is just being limited, or at least it seems like that from the past 2 games. So I would say Pascal Siakam is my favorite play by far from this game. And then Fred VanVleet. On the New York side of the ball, Mario Hezonja is still cheap, even though it's the worst possible matchup for him. He should see closer to 28 minutes at 4,200. It's cheap. Emmanuel Mudiay's price is coming up, I believe, now to 5,800, so it's not as much of a value. If Dennis Smith Jr. is out, he should see 32-plus minutes. But we were talking about this Milwaukee and Clippers game, right? I already mentioned some things. If Landry Shamet is out, and if we get news that Bev is out, it's a big bump for Lou Williams, but his price is up. I might go elsewhere at $7,500, especially for $100 more. I can get De'Aaron Fox, and I feel a lot better about a point guard starting in a better game environment than a shooting guard coming off the bench, even if it is Lou Williams. For $100 more, or $100 more, I'd rather go to Fox. Garrett Temple becomes interesting. He started the last game, had a very good game at a very cheap price. Outside of that, for the Clippers, I know Gallinari has been playing well, but his ceiling, he's going to get you his 32 to 35 points, but his ceiling just isn't there, or at least not as often as you would like. Milwaukee, Brook Lopez is a great matchup against the Clippers. I do like Brook Lopez here. I do like Pat Connaughton. Always have interest in Giannis. Outside of that, no dying interest for Eric Bledsoe with his price up, or Chris Middleton. The interest for this team, for me, it's probably going to go Pat Connaughton, then Brook Lopez, and then Giannis. But Giannis obviously always has interest for me, but it's just a matter of lineup construction, which I haven't looked into yet. I will quickly touch on the last game on this slate. It is San Antonio and Cleveland. No playoff implications here. San Antonio is a 13-point favorite. These are games, and you have to be very, very wary, especially, look, it's the slowest pace game on the slate. The total is 224.5, though, but the team total, this is not right. So something pulled off wrong. Let me just fix this. There's just no way that Cleveland, well, it's impossible because they're 13-point underdogs. Let me just get the proper total from this Vegas page here. Yeah, 218, and Cleveland is a 102.5. So I was going to say, I saw 112, and I was like, that's not possible. Cleveland never scores that many points, so 218. So that's good. I caught that. Just in terms of projections, and then the team total for, usually these things pull automatically, but I did have to pull down the screen today because there's more games than yesterday, so sometimes they get messed up. The rest are all good, though. So yeah, it's a 13-point spread. Cleveland's team total is 102.5. In today's current NBA, anytime you're pushing around 100 flat or below, you're pretty bad. Cleveland is a pretty bad team, although they are healthy now. I would be interested here in Derek White. His price is still cheap. He's going to be going up against Cleveland and Colin Sexton, worst defender in the league. His minutes are scaring me, though. I would also have interest in LaMarcus Aldridge. The worry for me, on the other side of the ball, no real interest. $5,900 Colin Sexton is not attractive to me. The only thing is that Kevin Love is now $7,200 in a not ideal matchup. San Antonio playing pretty good defense since the break. Actually turned it around quite a bit after having a long stretch of playing poorly for a few games in a few weeks. $7,200 Kevin Love with power forward eligibility is interesting. The problem for me, 13-point spread, and I'm fine with the Kevin Love, 13-point spread. This is a spot where we usually see a lot of rest or limited run for some guys. I wouldn't be shocked if DeMar DeRozan got ruled out before the game. Pop is known to do that in games where he feels comfortable, in games when it's closer to the playoffs, especially LaMarcus Aldridge, guys who can use the rest, older players going into the playoffs. This is an ideal spot to do it. They can beat Cleveland with their second unit, I'm almost positive, or at least a half out of their first unit and a half out of their second unit. So that's target offense. Try to cover as much as I could without just going through every single game, and I probably did touch on every single game, but either way, I will leave you guys with, and girls, with the early interests. People have been asking me about this value column over here. This should be pretty much set, but it's not going to be, this is not the final value column for me. Value is just coming off of my projection sheet, so it takes into account your price based on how much I project you for and how good you will be. But I factor it a different way. I don't believe in 5x, so you're going to see a lot of 5x values here that for most people would be a little bit lower. So 5.6x might be only 5.2x or 5x for other people. But the way that I factor my equations is a little bit differently for median projections. I don't use 5x salary because if somebody scores $3,000 or somebody's $3,000 and scores 15 points for you, that's usually going to hurt you most nights, and you usually don't want that. If somebody is $4,000, or a better example, if somebody is $5,000 and scores 25 points for you, that's usually going to hurt you some nights, especially if there's two of them in your lineup. In tournaments, you need everybody to average around 40 points. 25 points from a $5,000 player is not something that I'm happy about, especially if multiple are doing it. So I use 4x plus 10. So for that same $5,000 player, you do 4 times 5. So 4x times 5. 5 is the salary from 5,000. 4x times, so 4x, so 4 times 5 is 20, plus 10 is 30. I'd much rather that. That also equals 6x that way, but it won't always be like that. So my values are a little different, but that's how I get them, so it's just kind of a little sneak peek. But again, I could add some things here, so I'm definitely going to be adding Siakam. You could add Lowry as well. Did I spell it wrong? Siakam, Pascal Siakam. I think that's right. I don't know why that didn't pull over. Maybe it's not dragging down. I probably spelled it wrong. I think I spelled it wrong. Oh well. Siakam. Let's try one more. Oh well, Pascal Siakam. You get the point. So Ian Clark, 3,700, by far the best value on the slate because he's projected to start. I have him at 28 minutes. Probably can bump that to 30 minutes with Frank Jackson, if not more. Out today in by far the best game environment, 3,700, and he is a good ball player. I like Ian Clark. Mario Hezonja, another built-in value at $4,200 now that Noah Vonleh is out and going to be out another week. The worst possible matchup for Mario Hezonja. $4,200, I'd rather have a guy like Ian Clark or wait for more value, but early on it's there. Alfred Payton, 7,700. Now you're getting into this game right here. So Payton, Buddy Hield, Marvin Bagley, Christian Wood, even at 4,100, I prefer over Mario Hezonja. All these guys in this high-paced environment, this game, this 109 pace, close to 240 total, I'm interested in. Ranking the guys from that game for me, it's probably, and this is just hip fire, like I'm trying to think if I had to rank 3. Number 1, Ian Clark. Number 2, Marvin Bagley. The third, Marvin Bagley. And then number 3, I would probably go, this one's tough taking in price and all that. I would probably go Christian Wood, just because he's $4,100. Buddy Hield I do like. I'm a little worried about him playing 32 minutes instead of 33, which is a big difference. People think 3-minute differences aren't a lot. If they're a 1.2 point per minute guy, that's an extra like 4 points for you, and that's on average. It could be an extra 6 points in your lineup. And if you don't think that's a lot, if you use that same thinking throughout your whole lineup, 8 players getting you an extra 3 points, that's an extra 24 points. That's the difference between not cashing and cashing a lot. That's the difference between not winning a tournament and winning it by 10. So it matters. Kendrick Williams I also think is fine from that game at $4,500. Again, even AD at $6,900 is very fine for all formats, I would say, at this point, because he's $6,900. He can get you 35 like that and pay you off in cash, and you feel good about that. He can get you 40 like that, and in a tournament, 45, and you feel fine about that, and I don't think it's out of his range of outcomes by any means. Talked about Moutier. We talked about the only guys that I like, but I'm cautious about this San Antonio team is Aldridge and Derek White. They have the best matchups on their respective teams. Harrison Barnes, I'm literally throwing every player from the Sacramento game in there because I think that they're all at a nice price points on DraftKings. Harrison Barnes, $5,600, maybe a little expensive, but I like the matchup. He gets a lot of boost because of the pace. And also Willie Cauley-Stein, a little eerie on the minutes, but they were 30 in the last game. If Giles is out, I feel a little more comfortable. Garrett Temple is interesting only if we get news that Landry Shamet is out. And if Pat Bev is out, even more interesting. Joel Embiid, probably my favorite play on the entire slate today, at least early on. Definitely my favorite pay-up option when he's only 10-4 against Brooklyn in a game that 8-point spread, but both teams are going to be fighting pretty hard. Both teams have a lot of playoff implications. The Pacers are catching Cleveland or are catching the 76ers for the 3 seed. Brooklyn is holding on to a playoff spot. Should be a fun game. Kevin Love, 7,200, I mentioned. Vucevic, 8,500, I mentioned. Both too cheap. I don't love their specific game environments, but their prices are way too cheap. Fred VanVleet, I also do like, although he's playing very poorly. But I do like him in this matchup against New York. New York struggles against the shooting guards. Bam Adebayo, 5,800. He's going to continue to play around 30 minutes. Whiteside is getting pushed and pushed further and further out of this rotation. Bam is the guy, their future, and he's playing like an absolute stud. Not only is he rebounding and scoring, he's assisting. He's setting up plays, something that Whiteside can't do. Although much better rebounder and blocker in Whiteside, but still. Pat Connaughton, 4,500. I do like him. Tony Snell remains out. Here's an interesting play. Tristan Thompson, I believe, started last game. Still played below 20 minutes, 18, but his minutes have been coming up. He played 18 in the last one, 16, and like 15. If he touches 20 minutes today, at $3,900, Tristan Thompson can very well double-double in 20 minutes. He can get you 30 points. At $3,900, he's close to 10xing for you there. It's something to look at for sure. And then Pascal Siakam, don't have his price here. I think it's closer to 7,700, 7,500. But there's no Leonard today. He gets a huge bump. Lowry to an extent, but I'm not as interested because I'm scared about the minutes. He could easily play 25 minutes today, and I wouldn't be shocked. It seems like that's what they've been doing, limiting his minutes. Leave you off with the target offense sheet. Get in the Discord if you want this. Check out the baseball video. Let me know what you think about it. If you watch this whole video, hit me with a thumbs up. 2 videos down today. Lots of hours of work. Have to finish these projections. Have to go to a doctor's appointment. Have to get blood work for the doctor's appointment. Should be a long day. Also, have grad school stuff to do. Big presentation Tuesday. So thank you guys so much for watching. Enjoy opening day. Enjoy this 8-game slate. Seems like some games should remain competitive and that teams are playing for some things. But as always, late in the NBA season, lots of things are up in the air. I wish you the best of luck. My name is Sal. You already know that. Peace out.